All right. Welcome, everybody, to Borough Green Tree Council meeting for Monday, October 7th, 2024. We will have a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. I couldn't think of anything more important right now than the hurricanes that are about to hit Florida, Cat 5. It's the strongest hurricane since 2005. Affects a whole lot of people that you may even know, friends, relatives. It's kind of an amazing thing that's been going on with hurricanes. So just keep them in your thoughts as we have a moment of silence. So we'll stand for a moment and in the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call and
Ms. Barron,
Here.
Mr. Panza,
here.
Mr. Ray.
Here.
Ms. Schwartz,
Here.
Mr. Tintori.
Present.
Mayor Schenk.
Next up, we'll move for the approval of the minutes from the September 9th, 2024 meeting.
I move.
We have a motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Next up, are the hearing of the citizens. All citizens wishing to address general business or agenda items will be heard this. Anybody would like?
Christine Short, 251 Park Edge. Many council meetings ago, actually, I just want to bring up that, previous Mr. Novak that was on council before used to attend COG, Coalition of Organized Governments. I remember many council meetings ago, Mr. Ray brought it up, asking why, or asking, who would attend. And there was a lot of back and forth saying, we don't have time for meetings, we don't have time for this. Is anybody attending these meetings? Because there was times Mr. Novak would say, nothing to report, but I think it's important that somebody on council at least attend these meetings. And if you guys don't think it's that important, then so be it. But I do, because I know that, you get information on salts and, for the winter months. Of course, we've had mild winters, but is anybody attending these meetings?
Mr. Trosi is the, shape.
He wasn't.
Well, he's not here
Craig
anymore.
wanted-
He's not here.
So because of the transition, we haven't got anybody to pick up in the last couple months.
But he
Craig-
never reported on anything at all.
Okay,
Okay.
don't know what to tell you there.
Well, it'd be nice if somebody on council would at least appear at one of those meetings.
You're right.
Also, I want to bring up the property by Trumbull Drive Bridge. When you cross the Trumbull Drive Bridge, there's a building there. I think it's called Creative Printing or something. I just want you to know that there's been a couch that's been dumped on the side of that property, and it's been there for like maybe 6 months. But now the dumpster looks like people are dumping. In 2026, we're getting the NFL draft here, and I know our hotel's gonna be, it'd be nice if that property was cleaned up. If we can.
In progress.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Nick Callis, Forest Drive. So last meeting I spoke about, just some communication suggestions that I may have, and I'd like to just say that I'm grateful that Mr. Miller talked to me, last week about some things that we could do, and I'm still happy to volunteer my time to help stream these meetings maybe in a better way. I know you guys have the Zoom call, but I just want to make it clear as well that if you send out a live stream on social media, that will be fed to people's walls and their post cycles on the internet. The Zoom call you have to go find on the website. Whereas if we're following your pages on social media, we'll just get a notification, it'll be put in front of us. And then that way, if people can't attend, but, or maybe they slipped their mind, they didn't come to the meeting, they can have that in front of them and then, they'll see it and it's put right in front of them instead of them having to go and search for, where it is. And again, I'm happy to help with that. I know you guys have to discuss it, we'll talk, but I just wanted to express my gratitude that that conversation was had. And I also have some feedback from last meeting as well, because last month was the first meeting that I had ever attended as a Green Tree resident in the borough. It wasn't the greatest day, and I can acknowledge and understand that. And I know that there's a lot of, I think, pressure and backlash that comes from council that I totally understand. You know, a lot of the stuff that you guys have to go through as public officials and leaders and all that, but some of the way that you guys handle yourselves in these situations, you gotta understand how that looks from our perspective as citizens as well. Just some of the banter, some of the giggling, you know, and all the questions that are being asked about the procedures, like, we only have so much time to speak as residents now, and I think that some of Mr. Ray's questions that he brings up are to make us better understand how these meetings are happening, because we don't understand what's going on back here, and when all of the back and forth happens on the bench up there, it's hard to understand, it's hard to hear, it's hard to follow, and it looks like you guys aren't an organized group. And I'm just saying that because I have a lot of pride in this community, and I'm gonna start showing up to these meetings as much as I can all the time, because I care about this community, and I want you guys to best reflect us as the residents. And I'm not just talking about the pool, I'm talking about, you know, as the leaders of this community, just looking like you guys are more unified and united. And again, it was only one meeting. I'm not gonna judge you guys on your worst day, but just from what I saw on the YouTube feed from August and then showing up in September, it's just gotta be better, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Anyone else? How about?
Aldo R. Colati, 143 Sheldon, 15220. I'd like to offer some comments regarding the lack of transparency during the September 30th, 2024 interviews for the first council vacancy position. To my knowledge, no candidates' names or even the number of candidates was listed on the borough website in advance of the meeting. Secondly, there was no list of candidates provided at the interview, get-together meeting, whatever you want to call it. And there was no introduction made at that meeting either as to the number of candidates or what their names were, or even the structure for that interview session. I had to, after the meeting started, after I believe one or two candidates were interviewed, I spoke up when it was, because the public was invited to that meeting. For those of you who may not have attended or didn't know that, we were permitted, the public was permitted to attend that meeting. After the first couple of candidates were interviewed, I stood up and I said, could we know the names of the candidates, the spelling of their names, or even how many candidates there were? I made two, I believe it was in two questions. I first asked the names, and then secondly, after another candidate was interviewed, I asked how many. Mrs. Walsh also asked how many. I believe the answer at the point that I asked, there were three. And so then they said there was going to be two more. And Mrs. Walsh wanted to know if those other two candidates were going to be interviewed that evening, because apparently she wasn't sure about the structure of the meeting either. It appeared to me that each candidate was allotted about a half an hour time, and some candidates appeared not to even have been here at the beginning of the meeting, so they apparently knew the time schedule, but we didn't. I don't think that was very respectful of our time, as volunteers to come to these meetings so that we would have had a general idea as to how long the meeting might last. If I had not been there at this meeting, I'm not sure anyone would have said how many candidates there were or what their names were, and we would have all had to sit here and find out as we went along. I think this was a very bad example of transparency. It could have been very easily handled. I don't think this is anything top secret. The number of candidates interested and, what their names are. And I think I don't know why you would want to hide it, because I think it makes Green Tree look very good that we had 5 candidates interested in being on council and wanting to join you folks. And I don't know why you wouldn't have wanted to disclose that. As I said before, I think it makes the community look good. Some community members may have even stayed home thinking that maybe only one person was interested and that person's a shoo-in and will be automatically appointed. So that was many of my comments. Also, it was mentioned, I believe by the solicitor, that there was going to be a discussion after the meeting as to the process. That since there's also a second vacancy, which is going to be filled, of the process of whether the applicants for the first time, how they would go about being considered again, whether they would have to reapply or whether they have to be re-interviewed or things of that nature. And I'm wondering whether that discussion has been held prior to now, or if it'll be held at this meeting, or if it'll be disclosed on the website, or, you know, it's going to be addressed further on in the agenda. And so I wanted to make those comments regarding the lack of transparency. I think it was, I think it would have been a very good step in the right direction to show some transparency when there's been many citizens and also even some members of council, I believe, who have pointed out the lack of transparency. I don't understand why this had to be top secret. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
One more thing, excuse me.
Sure.
One final comment, and this is why I think it's important. I do hope that the interviews for the second council vacancy are held in a more transparent fashion by taking my suggestions. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment on that. So, I asked in the days and maybe the week in advance of the interviews for the names to be, put on an agenda and distributed to the residents, and I was told that since it's not required, we were not going to do it. We had 7 candidates. I thought it was unbelievably disrespectful that we had interviews scheduled as late as 9:30 p.m. Disrespectful to our residents, disrespectful to the people that put their names in. The interview at 9:30 and then not to put the schedule out. And I asked that question during the interviews, and the solicitor told me that we couldn't deliberate, so I wasn't able to ask the question during the interview, so I ask it now. Why didn't we put out the names? Why didn't we, or we can put out the names for the next one?
Right now, I can tell you is we were advised that we did all the correct, proper things that we were supposed to do.
Not
We've done
properly.
it before, and this is following what we used to do, and we got legal, advice that we were doing the right thing, and there was nothing shady or upward. Plus, we didn't even know who was gonna show up to all these meetings, so.
There's a difference,
Anything else?
there's a difference between what's required and what's right. We did not do the right. We did what was required. What was required, according to the solicitor, that we did not need to put out an agenda. I even asked if we could separate the meetings, the interviews into 2 meetings, because I knew we had at least 5 candidates. So there's a difference, Mr. President, between doing the right thing and what's required. We did what was legally required. I'm asking, why didn't we do what was right?
Thank you. Anybody else?
Do I get an answer?
It's your opinion.
I'm asking a question, I'm not giving my opinion.
Well,
I'm asking a question,
You're
why
saying-
didn't we? Why didn't we?
we did.
Why didn't we put the names out? Who made the decision not to put the names out?
Or even the number of candidates. I'm sorry to speak up.
Excuse me.
Even the number of candidates.
Anything else?
Anybody else want to comment? Respectful that we're not even, we're making.
I'll make a comment.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
please be respectful.
I agree with all those. I agree with all those comments, and I've been an attorney for 42 years. So there's such a thing as legal advice, and we did follow the legal. I mean, we didn't do anything wrong legally, but as Mr. Ray pointed out, and as I point out to my clients, there's more than just the legal advice. There's, common sense, transparency. There's a lot of other factors other than the legal advice. So hopefully the next time we interview the candidates, we publish, we have another vacancy. Hopefully we learn and that we publish, how many are going to be interviewed and the times, especially since it's open so that the citizens can plan their schedules accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else have anything else to?
Andy Grab, 12 Terrace Drive. Just wanted to briefly and respectfully ask council to strongly reconsider the position on the pool situation. I think reopening discussion, gathering more community input, would be, and Mr. Mayor, getting back to the legal versus right discussion. I understand that the pool proceedings may have been gone through the legal process correctly. I question whether it was the right way to do it. Same thing with the transparency in terms of those of us that interviewed at council last week. Same thing, I'm sure the legal requirements were met. Was the moral or the right thing done by the community in terms of letting everybody know? I don't think it was. But that being said, I think reopening the pool discussion, gathering more community input would be not only the prudent thing to do, but the right thing to do. We want to put that in quotations. It's clearly a big issue for the community. It's a hot button issue. The community is who elects our officials. And it's done with respect, and I think that respect has not been reciprocated up to this point on this issue. I think it could be reciprocated back to the constituency a lot better. Council serves at the behest of the public. The flip side to that is we need to come to these meetings, we need to be participatory, we need to make sure people are doing what they're supposed to be doing in a respectful manner. But again, I think that's a two-way street. Other than that, again, I think just having that transparency, having that reciprocal respect, the give and the take with the public, when the public points out, hey, we have a concern about this issue, I think it needs to be met with greater respect and greater transparency. So, other than that, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Citizen and member of the Green Tree Civil Service Commission. I want to be here to congratulate Officer Gavlik, being sworn in as Sergeant in Green Tree Police tonight. The promotion to Sergeant is a difficult task that requires a lot of after-hours work, time spent studying, pass the required tests. We are lucky to have an officer who took on that task to earn the promotion. It's a testament to the dedication to his career and a testament to the value he has in our community. Additionally, I want to congratulate Cameron Hewitt and Tyler Frederick, who tonight the board will be voting on Tyler. They will make a great addition to the police force. I look forward to seeing them patrolling the streets of our community. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Jane Caroline, 14 Elmhurst Road. I wanted to say thank you. The weed garden has been managed. And the code enforcement gentleman, he called and he explained some challenges, and I suggested he have the people reach as far into the yard as he could, but today I noticed things are being pulled up. So appreciate it. Thank you. I think Green Tree thanks you. So.
Anyone else?
Just
Michelle Bercheski, 1165 Tranter. I just wanted to bring up, we've had such a beautiful fall in September and October so far, that I know you don't want to hear about the pool anymore, but we are losing our favorite place next year to hang out and to enjoy our fellow Green Tree residents. I would like, again, to see a pause on the pool, so we can spend our summer at the pool. And maybe if we close it at the end of August, and they can start the construction in September, because they could have got a lot done this September, October. And it's, it's gonna just destroy the community, to me, the morale of the community, of our youth, who are not gonna be able to have friendships at the pool and run around, summer rec, kids hanging out. Kids are not gonna have jobs, we might not get them back in 26. So, I mean, this impact is greater than, I'm not worried about the size of the pool or what. It's about not having a pool, and then going to another pool in another community, and just, it's gonna be horrible. And so, just reconsider again, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to new business. First off,
I just have a point of order. Are we doing proclamations?
I thought you would do it under your.
Okay, it's not on the agenda.
is your extra thing that you just talked about?
Okay. Just put
Okay, we're gonna move on to the mayor for a, presentation. The mayor,
Yes, before I swear in Sergeant Grant Gavlik, I'd like to congratulate him also. I'm glad a member of this, Robert came from the Civil Service Commission. That was nice. Three of his fellow officers are also here. Ryan Bocci, please stand up. You didn't know you were gonna have to do this, huh? Kevin Dine, please stand up. Acting Chief Brannigan, please stand up. This is basically right now 2/3 of our police force. These guys have been doing an excellent job. They've been covering all kinds of overtime. Mr. Diamond, Officer Diamond recently had a 3-month-old at home. So he's not getting much sleep between the overtime, waking hours. So anyhow, these guys do a great job. Very, very seldom to ever get a complaint. They handle all kinds, like the police report, all kinds of domestics, all kinds of DUIs, all kinds of mental health issues. So they've been handling these things excellent, these young gentlemen, and Acting Chief Brannigan, I'm sorry, no, but he's a young man also compared to me. So I'd really like to thank him in this hard time. So hopefully council votes on 2 new members. It's still gonna take a little bit to incorporate the 2 members. There'll be a field training officer for possibly 6 weeks. They'll have to ride along with somebody else. The 2 new officers, even though they have experience, and they'll be out on their own covering shifts. So it might not be until around Christmas time. So these guys still gonna have to carry a heavy load for the next couple of months, but we do appreciate that. So I'm gonna swear in, I'm gonna swear in Sergeant Gavlik. If you could come forward, please. Try not to do too many at once. We start off with I. Okay. Brad Gavlik, do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and the ordinances of the Borough of Green Tree, and I will discharge the duties of Sergeant with fidelity. I further swear that I will not and have not knowingly received, revenue received directly or indirectly, and any money or other valuable things for the performance or non-performance of any act or duty pertaining to my position other than compensation allowed by law. And I do further swear that I will not so advocate any insurrections. Just read it was here. So I don't know if I'm allowed to say so help me God, but that's that, so help me God. Okay, congratulations.
You would like to say something? Sergeant? Okay. Yeah, sometimes that's a good way of saying things. Those, 3 stripes look good on that uniform, Sergeant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
You have a picture?
Joe got it.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, next we'll move on to, appointment to council seat, vacated by Mr. James Chirosi. I need a motion. Okay. And I would like any council member that would like to make any comments about any of the applicants for whatever reason.
I just want to thank every single one. It takes a lot to stand up in front of your community to offer your service. And, you know, right now, there's only one seat that we can choose to fill tonight, but at the end of the day, all of you should be proud. And I am proud that we have this many people in our community willing to serve. I think that's a wonderful thing, so thank you.
Just a comment, all 5 candidates are here tonight, as I recall, so that's very good, that gave interviews. They all were very articulate on their interviews, very knowledgeable, and all would make good candidates. I don't get to vote, so I'm not gonna state my preference to staying good with everybody, but anyhow. But no, they all 5 did an excellent job and are very articulate. Thank you.
And at this time, I would like to mirror the mayor's comments. Any of the 5 people that interviewed would be a fine fit on council. And if there's ever any vacancies in the future, I hope they keep that in mind. However, tonight, we can only pick one person out of the 5. And after a lot of consideration, I'm gonna make the motion that we appoint Jennifer Holtz to replace James Teresa.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I would, again, I've said it before when we started, that every single person deserves recognition for defending them. We can only choose one, and it is, we all are independent in our vote, and it's a tough decision.
With that, I would like a roll call vote.
Ms. Barron,
Yes.
Mr. Panza,
Yes.
Mr. Ray.
No.
Ms. Schwartz,
Yes.
Mr. Tintori.
Yes. The motion carries to appoint Jen Holtz as still the vacant council.
Make a comment, of the 4, how many did we interview? 5.
5.
Of the 5 candidates, I told you the other one that thought that the 450 people that signed the petition still a small local minority when it comes to the pool. Everybody else was in support of gathering more information and to listen to the rest of us. So I understand.
Thank you. Next up, I would like a motion to accept the resignation of Craig Romanovich.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, do you want to Read the motion. Well, I think that was discussion, okay, we have a motion and a second.
So
Any
at
further-
this point, I would highly encourage the other candidates who were at the meeting last week to resubmit their information for this seat, honestly. We had a lot of great candidates, and I hope that they would come back because it is not easy to fill seats, and to have people as engaged as you were that want to get involved was really inspiring and encouraging. So that's my statement.
Also, Mr. Mayor asked a question during the interview process last Monday, whether those 4 candidates who weren't ultimately selected, would they have to reapply? Reapply and re-interview, for this position. From a legal standpoint, they would have to reapply. I believe it's a policy decision, for council to decide whether they need to come back and interview again, or the council's just satisfied with their first interview unless any candidate previously interviewed would like to come back voluntarily and go through that process again. But either way is acceptable from the legal perspective, so it's up for.
So it could be, it's up to council's purview if they want to say, we're okay if they don't want to come sit through the interview again. But if they want to and they want to discuss other things, they could come back.
Yeah, that legally, there's no issue.
That's
As
great.
long as they officially have to apply. Correct, but we'll have to obviously notify council that they are still interested in the new vacancy. But, you know, and notify whether they'd like to sit for another interview, or if it's enough to just have their name, you know, be considered whenever it's decided at an upcoming meeting.
I'd suggest that be given the choice to rely on their last, interview or come again, so they can be at their
Yeah.
discretion.
That makes sense to me. Once they apply,
Correct, once
correct,
they
then
apply,
yes,
correct.
that makes a lot of sense.
Well, that's fine. We're on agreement to that.
So, if I may say then, so are they going to have to reapply, or am I to reach out to the remaining candidates to see if we're still interested?
I would say just they would have to reapply, just as any candidate would, whether or not they interviewed for Mr. Rosie's seat. All interested candidates, whether previously applied or not, would have to still reach out. We'll follow the same process that was followed for the prior vacancy with respect to publication. And then, you know, scheduling interview times and any tweaks from the process, you know, to discuss tonight or whatever.
Do we have a motion?
Yes, we do. We have a motion, I believe it's second too. That's correct. So we didn't forget that. So is there any further discussion? If not, then we can vote on the motion to accept the resignation of Greg Blunt. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
I'd like to, make a motion to add to the agenda. That we go above and beyond the legal requirements to, not put out the names. The motion would be to add to the agenda that we put out the names of the candidates to the public. We have a reasonable interview schedule. And if we have more than 3 candidates, that we break that into more than one session.
I don't think you need a motion for that. I think that's something that just can be considered by council. And if you want to make tweaks to that process for this new vacancy, you don't need a motion to reflect that. You can just discuss that.
And I want to go back to my original question from earlier this evening, who made the decision not to put the names out? And what would prevent us from not putting the names out in the second round? Because without a motion, Counselor, anybody who made that decision could make that decision again.
Well, again, it's not really an action item for council to consider as much as just procedure.
Okay, well, let's agree on it in public with the procedures then.
So, when we get the date for interviews and the list of candidates, we can post those along with the meeting notes.
The
Makes
name
sense.
of the candidate.
The names of the interview topics.
Can we agree that we don't interview past 8 o'clock tonight?
The last.
I don't know how you can, I don't
Can we
agree.
agree that we don't interview past 8:30?
I don't agree to that either.
No, I think 9 would be reasonable. Borough Council often, goes much later than that.
Yeah,
Borough Council does, because we have an obligation to be here. but asking somebody in the residence who want to observe the interviews. Asking them to watch an interview that starts at 5:30 at night, I think is disrespectful.
I said, hold on.
No, I think if we end at 9. It was
And
saying,
it-
end at, oh, wait.
Last one at 9 o'clock.
Well,
Yeah, scheduled till 8:30.
8:30 would be the
The
last.
last interview, yes, that makes sense.
You vote, yes.
And we can add a second, we can have a potential second date
If needed.
if needed, if we have enough.
we can advertise for 2 separate dates, and then if we need to use the second one, we can, if not, at least it's advertised and it's known, and we can just publish notice that, we're not.
That way they
gonna
can
utilize
have it on
that
their
second
schedule.
date.
I just think, I mean, obviously, we want to make sure that any candidate who's applying has that availability at this date. So yeah, I think that's really important that
Yeah.
that does.
So I assume I'm not gonna get an answer to my question, why we didn't do it per se.
I don't have any.
Somebody has to have an answer.
David, I can't even, I'm sitting here trying to figure out why we wouldn't. Like, what answer we could give you of why we wouldn't, and I can't think of anything. I mean, I can't think of any reason why we wouldn't have those names published.
Well, somebody does. I emailed.
I mean, I'm just saying, I wonder what would be accomplished by not doing that, like.
That's what I'm looking for.
Even Aldo said, like, he can't figure out why we wouldn't do it, so, I mean, I can't answer why. I
Would you
mean,
love that answer?
yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know.
I think they would love that answer too,
I
but I guess we're not gonna get it.
don't know what.
All right. We will move on to, finance and general policy. And if I am elected to take over for, Mr. Trotsy, who was the former chair of finance and general policy. So therefore, I would like to make a motion to ratify the actions of the borough manager in paying the September 2024 invoices from the general fund totaling $200,185.16. Capital projects fund totaling $24,559.45. Farmers market fund totaling $1,497.50. Payroll account fund totaling $213,747.03. Educational service agency fund totaling $5,596.88. Credit card July 2024 totaling $8,827.84. And credit card August 2024 totaling $8,577.32.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
There's a payment for two $100 gift cards for civil service.
Oh, that was for the chiefs that assisted with the interview process.
That's also on. It was listed twice. There's one that said two $100 gift cards for civil service, and there's another line for gift cards for the police that helped out, and the chiefs that helped out.
Oh, look, I know we did get their cards for the chiefs that volunteered to come and assist. That's,
There's, I think it's listed.
yeah.
And then the other one, I'm not sure if it's this or the next item on the agenda, the $104,254 to property and liability trust.
Yes.
Did we change insurance that that's been our insurance company, so that's our insurance. Our level of thing.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That motion carries. Next up, I'd like to make a motion to approve payment of the October 2024 invoices from the general fund totaling $139,961.07. Storm sewer fund totaling $23,520.86. Sanitary sewer funding totaling $14,863.89. Capital Projects Fund totaling $150,701.51. And bond fund totaling $65,500.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
I abstain, someone from my family is being reimbursed.
Okay, very fine. The motion carries. Next, let's move on to infrastructure and Ms. Schwartz.
All right, I move that we award a contract to Wilson Excavating and Utility Construction LLC for the 2024-2029 sanitary sewer operations and maintenance CCTV program as outlined in the Borough Engineers correspondence dated August 26, 2024.
This is the one that we tabled last, I'm sorry, you made a motion.
I made a motion.
Second.
Thank you.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion?
This is the one we tabled last one.
Yes, and the evaluations.
We just, for the record,
Yes.
We're gonna put TV cameras in their sanitary sewer. That's
Correct.
basically what it is.
And then we clean out any that they find issues with.
The low bid, which was very, very close, was $57,994.12.
It was a pretty wide range too of this.
this is something that, so this is an annual contract that we haven't had previously.
No, we've done it before, but we have rebid it out to ensure competitive pricing. And it came in incredibly competitive.
Yeah, the two lowest were very close, if you look at the numbers.
What I'm asking is, we've done it before on a as needed basis, this is now an annual agreement.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure because I would have come in the middle of it. I don't know if they did it out before. We used to always have it done by Robinson and Clayton. And we put it out to bid, because we expanded the program a little bit because we had some areas of the community, some of the lines that were not being, looked at. So we expanded it a little bit to include some areas that, to make sure that we're taking a look at everything over the course of 5 to 8 years.
Okay, yeah, I'm confused because I thought in the past it was just on an as needed basis. We had a look.
Now,
at the sewer.
there are some that is done as needed.
Okay, so this is just like a service agreement.
This is, we have a schedule of lines that get done year one.
Okay.
Schedule begins in year two and it goes down. It's programmed out for 7 years.
Got it.
But we still do, just on the fly, we have like a construction project that's over top of the sanitary sewer. We'll make sure we take a look at the sanitary sewer in advance to ensure, so we know if it's a condition. Even if there's a problem out in construction, we know if it's like that or not.
And then, maybe it's just a oversight, but usually we put in the amount of the bid in the motion, correct?
We can, but the bid tabulation is there and I read it aloud.
Well, we do it down below, that's why I was just asking.
Yeah.
Just to save it.
You want me to add the total into that? And read
Just
it?
a motion.
So you have to spread it out. Just read it out. That's- Yeah.
Yes, yep.
So just-
Yeah, she's just gonna give me the number.
It's just the bid tabulations.
$57,994.12. Is the bid.
Okay, any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The contract is forward. Thank you, Ms. Schwartz. We'll move on to planning and zoning. Ms. Schwartz.
All right, I move that we adopt resolution number 1354, designating Shar West Cobb to perform the required duties between the Borough of Green Tree and Allegheny County Economic Development requesting Act 152 funds and comply with all other provisions of the Act 152 application for structure demolition.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none.
On this a little.
I'll explain.
Oh, sure. So this is a grant application to secure funds for the demolition of a home that is has been abandoned for several years. It's fallen into significant disrepair. In advance of actually doing any demolition, there's obviously many notice requirements, condemnation proceedings, all of which will be done. We're just trying to take advantage of this grant application period because it won't come around again for another year. It takes probably about 6 to 8 months to for them to consider the grant. So.
Any other discussion? Okay, if not, we'll do a roll call vote.
Ms. Schwartz,
Yes.
Ms. Barron,
Yes.
Mr. Panza,
Yes.
Mr. Ray.
Yes.
Mr. Tintori.
Yes. The resolution passed.
Right. Next up, I move that we appoint Christopher House as the borough's building code official.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion?
Yes, the November meeting, could we invite him to the November meeting so we can meet, all of council, the mayor and just, the little citizen? I mean, he's an important part of the community. Come and say a few words.
Yes, if he's available.
He's available.
He's like,
I mean, if he's not available in
if
November,
not, I would encourage everyone to go say hi. If you're in the building, go say hi to Chris.
I mean, I intend to, I just thought it would be good when we have a integral part of the community that.
Sure.
They come from every day.
Why wouldn't he? If he's available.
Right, okay, right, and if he's not available in November, there's always December.
I'm sure there'll be some reason he needs to be.
Yeah, I would think he would want to come and introduce himself.
Good.
Is he attending the planning commission meetings?
Sure is. Hands on inventory.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Schwartz. Public Facilities, Ms. Barron.
Yes, I move that we award a contract to Sunrise Commercial Contracting Incorporated for the Green Tree Municipal Buildings restroom renovations. Excuse me, in the amount of $121,040 as outlined in the Borough Engineers correspondence dated September 27th, 2024.
Second.
So, Ms. Miller, you can probably explain a little bit about this as well, but this is for the, ADA restroom renovations for the restrooms on this floor. The only ADA, approved bathroom in this entire building as it stands right now is actually the one across from the gym, which you need to get up and downstairs to get into, making it not really ADA compliant. So this would make these restrooms up here accessible, fully by ADA standards for anyone who would need to use the restroom with mobility aids, walkers, and a whole variety of other reasons why you might want to use, a bathroom that is suited for you.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I have some discussion. Did I read my notes incorrectly, or was this a little over budget?
It is over the estimated, cost of it. We do have the funds in our capital fund to pay for it, but it did come, all of the bids came in over budget, over what we thought was the cost.
Okay, and then who, can I ask, so who thought it was gonna be a certain amount of money?
I think initially when we did, yes, it was not this past summer, the summer before, probably actually even in spring of 23, we applied for a grant. And that is when they developed an estimate for purposes of the grant application. We were denied the grant we decided to pursue the project anyway. And at that point, they came out, and I believe it had a lot to do with the structure, plumbing in this building and access to it and what they need to do in order to relocate some of the water closets within the restrooms.
Why were we denied the grant?
We just didn't apply for it, denied, we just didn't get approved for it. That was such more time around than not.
How far away from being the plant are we right now? Is it like really far out, or way off from being ADA, or just?
Yes.
all in between?
Completely, you cannot get into the restroom with the wheelchair.
Yeah, but I mean, you understand that bids could come in a little over, but when you have professional people that throw out an average number, you know, when that bid comes in over 100% more over budget, then I really have a problem. I mean, if our swimming pool that is, what's it at 3.5 million? If it comes in at 8 million, then I'm gonna be very, very upset at who showed us it would be 3.5.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed.
so
I will say, so the initial says it was at 75. So it is approximately with the lowest one that came in, which is the one that's up, it's 64 over. So not quite completely over.
So just for.
well, wait, 67,000 over budget. I mean, I'm no mathematician, but if the total contract's 121,000, you take 121 minus 67, that's more than 100% increase. It's like 118% increase. David could probably tell you exactly what the difference would be. So all I would like to do is ask that we table this motion to further look into.
I will say though, that we did receive 7 bids for this project. And this bid is 11,000 under the next closest bid, is 16,000 under the one after that. It is 37 less than the one after that, and it goes up and up. So, you know, we received 7 bids for this, and this was the lowest bid. So, I mean, I think that's a reasonably good representation that, it's an expensive project. More
Right.
expensive than we budgeted.
Let me ask you this, if
Yes.
we table it, what would you were on this committee, so what would you like to see happen? I think I'm concerned because it feels like we aren't,
I would like to dig deeper into the scope of the project. I mean, you know, dig deeper into what the scope of the project is. I hate to, I mean, if we keep pressing this, I mean, I have to keep coming up with answers. If this is any example of what went on with the wall at Wilson Park, where we were going to pay all this money and then Public Works came in and did it, and we saved $100,000. I would like to at least have the opportunity to look at this for 30 days, make sure. I mean, it's not like they're building new walls or anything. I mean, I understand a handicap commode is shorter, you know, smaller or lower than the current one, but to change a commode or to change a partition, in fact, this is the one that we're even downsizing. We're paying all this money to downsize. I mean,
downside goals.
yes, we were going from 2 stalls in the men's room to 1
That's
stall.
not compliant, people
Well-
cannot use them.
That's why I just asked if we look at this for 34 days.
Yeah, that's fine, but I just wanna know if we're doing it, I wanna have a reason.
I want
of what we're
to
doing.
really
How about,
break it down and look at the scope and see.
how about if I do this? I will have, our engineer stop in at the next one.
Okay.
Just so you can explain.
Okay. Well, wait, I'm not saying, wait, you guys could vote my motion down.
But if we did, I would wanna have a reason of how we were gonna remedy that. There is no sense in tabling something if it's just gonna sit. So I would wanna make sure we had a plan to address those concerns.
And why I'm asking is to
Right.
just really look further into this one particular thing than just, you know, say it's.
Yeah, the other comment I would make is, it seems like we have been really successful getting grants for everything else. It just seems like an ADA compliant bathroom would be first.
We
So
have-
are there
Pretty
other,
competitive.
are there other,
I would say that we have, and then within that CDBG program, you know, we've been getting the ADA programs, we've gotten those 2 years in a row. This project, I think my impression of the program is they like to do a lot of smaller grants rather than maybe one big grant. So, we have received through the CDBG program, we've received grants 2 years in a row because of the programs. This one we didn't get, so, you know, that's unfortunate, but,
Maybe we hold this off until next year, till we. Now, I know it's not
We've
hold
already
it off for a whole
yeah.
2 months, but it's been, this building's been here for 32 years, so 3 more months isn't like.
I will just tell you, it would be 3 more months, you would be looking at a minimum 1 year.
Well, or divide the restrooms up into smaller drains, like ask for to do just 1 or 2
I think
restrooms.
some of that could be taken back to our next committee meeting.
Yeah, that's all, so.
But I want to stress that we are talking about restrooms that people need to use.
I understand.
And that
but
we have had comments about them.
I-
So that, I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't table it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that we have a path forward that doesn't keep putting a vulnerable group of people that are in our community and more, because more people use this other than just people who live here. That we keep kicking it down the curb for a vulnerable set of community members. And that's my personal feelings towards it, yeah.
And that's why I'm trying to offer several
That's
things
what I
to
asked.
look at least, or explore. And for 30 days, and then if we can look at it, that's all.
Yeah, my thought council should move on this. I mean, the ADA requirements, they put it out for bid. There's all kinds of requirements, all kinds of things. We had 7 contractors bid on it, and this is the lowest bidder. So I think just for our credibility, I mean, you put something out for bid for 7 contractors. You make all the requirements by the engineer, our engineer, we spent money. So I think for the 121,000, we should move full steam ahead at this point to make these bathrooms ADA compliant.
So we have an original motion to approve. Did we get a second?
We did, that's my
Sorry.
question.
Okay, but then I made a subsidiary motion that I have no second as of now.
I would entertain, my hangup is on the grants. I feel like, did we make one application, the CBDG grant, or are there other grant opportunities that could fund the ADA compliant restroom?
ADA falls, pretty much, as far as I know, primarily in that CDBG basket.
There's no federal grants that support ADA compliant.
Not that I'm aware of.
Did we do research on, I'd be willing to table it just to see if there's an opportunity to get additional grants. It seems like we get like I said, we get grants for everything.
We do not get.
It seems like we were getting.
And I would like to take it to look into the scope.
Right now, we have a motion
You
to
know,
approve and a
further
second.
into the scope to see if it's changing a few fixtures. Or,
It's changing the whole thing, Mark, because you have to raise wheelchair accessible. So you have to be able to move the wheelchair around.
yeah, so you unscrew the
There's a-
stalls and make them.
You have to move plumbing because you're taking on the side and so there's a lot more to it.
And they do need to remove an actual wall in the women's restroom and relocate the HVAC.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I'd love 30 days to really take a look at.
I think we have a motion, the original motion.
Well, the first motion to discuss the right now you have a motion that's second. That's what I meant. So.
We had Ron's motion. Is there a second to table?
I would table it for 30 days to do the research on that end and also to see if there are other grants that could, and maybe we don't need to table to see other grants, but to look at the scope of work and maybe there's something that's in the scope that whoever made the decision to deny the grant, maybe that was the cause of the denial. I don't know.
Yeah, and I do just think that it's important to know that you will be deferring this project for a year or more. By the time you go through, I'm not sure what the application cycles, in other words, the application cycle may not even put in until spring or summer. You know, a lot of these like this like grant, this will not open again until next year this time. So if we are going to wait on a grant, we just have to understand we are likely committing to putting this project off for potentially a year or more.
But we're making the motion for only 30 days, so like. If we hold off for only 30 days, that's all we're asking to hold this motion till next November. I mean, till this November to vote on the same.
So you're assuming that we'll keep all the bids and everything, that,
Well, if they won't honor their bid 30 days from now, then maybe we don't want to deal with them.
Well, the bids came in on September the 18th.
Okay, and they get awarded November this.
So I'm assuming that you would go back and do the legwork on the scope and making sure, given your background, that you can determine whether or not it's.
Well, just to take a look and see what's better.
Because I don't want to table it and then nothing happens. If you commit to that, then
Yeah.
I'll support.
well, we have a
Well, we
motion,
still may not get the votes.
we have a motion and a second to table this. So all in favor of that, you want to do a, maybe we should do a roll call.
Mr. Panza,
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Tintori?
No,
Ms. Schwartz?
No.
Ms. Barron?
Can I say why I'm gonna vote before I vote it, or do I have to say first and then vote?
No, it doesn't matter. See, if I don't get my way, I don't.
I know, but I wanna be very clear.
You're very, we did this very professional and very fair. So if
Yeah,
the motion doesn't pass, that's the way it is.
I believe that we owe it to a vulnerable members of our community to make this happen. So my vote is no to table it.
okay. So we are,
That's the original.
the motion to table has failed, so we will revert to the original motion to approve.
Do I need to read it again?
Sure.
Go on the table.
Okay.
Okay, unless you want.
I think if there's no further discussion, I think we go straight to a vote.
Very fine. And we could do a roll call on that too. So we will therefore revert to the original motion, which had a second. So Kim, roll call.
Mr. Panza?
I'm gonna have to vote no.
Mr. Ray?
I'm going to abstain because I just voted yes to the table because I needed more information.
Ms. Schwartz?
Yes.
Ms. Barron?
Yes.
Mr. Tintori?
Yes. Yeah, contract, motion for a contract.
And I'd just like to make a comment that I have full support of ADA compliant the rest of my abstention because of the way it previously.
Because you thought we had an opportunity to get a grant, is that what?
That's because, no, I just said,
That's easy.
because I thought that we.
Yeah, I got it. We get it. We get it.
I understand, it's interesting, because a month ago, when we had a meeting,
Yeah, move on.
okay, we'll move on.
That's not on the topic.
See, when I say I get bullied.
You are bullied, you are,
You were gonna go after.
oh, I was not,
Stop.
you have no idea what I was gonna say.
Let's move on.
That's exactly what we were talking about. Okay,
Stop.
professional, thank you very much. We'll move on to public safety, Mr. Ray.
Yeah, really, excited, to make these next couple of motions, public safety committee and the entire council has been working diligently over the, past couple of months to hire a couple of police officers to fill some vacant spots in the department. So I move that let me actually stop for a second. So I just wanted to talk about the process of, the hiring process for these police officers. The rigorous process that is, done through the Civil Service Commission, and Mr. Turley was here, a couple of moments ago. He was here earlier tonight, so I appreciate his service along with the other members of the Civil Service Commission to help us through this process, make sure that we are hiring the best. And Acting Chief Brannigan, who was also here earlier, came up with some innovative ways to attract candidates to the police officer role here in Green Tree, including a billboard and one candidate actually said that they saw the billboard and applied because they saw it, so that was really exciting. And then council interviewed the candidates and we landed on the following two. We're gonna make a motion for each, starting with, authorizing the hiring of Cameron Hewitt as a full-time probationary police officer in accordance with the terms and conditions of the Green Tree Borough Civil Service Commission rules and regulations.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Can we just, this is more for the public than for me. Can we, it says here probationary police officer, can we get some clarification on what the probationary period?
If there's a 1 year probationary period, that's in the Civil Service Commission rules. So, at the end of 1 year, basically, if the person doesn't work out, we could dismiss them. He would not have civil service protection. But, most of the time, the officers we hire, knock on wood, they pass the probationary period. They will have to have a field training officer for about 6 weeks. So after 6 weeks, if the acting chief thinks they're doing well, he can put them out on their own. So they'll be covering their entire shifts and everything. But the acting chief, every month, he'll write a report saying how they're doing, even though they're acting on their own. And after the end of the year, if they pass the probationary period, they're a full officer with full civil service protection. But that's what the probationary period is.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thanks, Ms. Barron, Mr. Mayor, for bringing it up.
Any further discussion? If not, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? The motion passes. For police officer, you.
The next one is that I make a motion to authorize the hiring of Tyler Frederick as a full-time probationary police officer in accordance with the terms and conditions of the Green Tree Borough Civil Service Commission rules and regulations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just to point out too, they do have to jump through one more hoop, so it's tentative. I think it's psychological, according to the civil service rules. They have to do one more test, but it's kind of it's not a real in-depth test. So anyhow, most likely these two candidates will pass within the next week or two, and plus they have jobs now, so they'll have to give notice to their current employees. So hopefully come early November, everything's in line that they can go to the field training officer. And
Yeah, so this will bring us up to 8 officers plus acting chief Brannigan, leaving one spot open, one additional officer opening in the department. Okay, and then next, we have.
We haven't.
We haven't.
We got too excited.
Sorry, we have a
To
motion.
get official.
Yeah.
We have a motion.
I seconded, yeah.
And we have a second, and we had some discussion. Any further discussion before we? Not hearing any. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The motion passes, so police officer Trick.
I just want to point out one thing. Council interviewed 2 other candidates also. They interviewed a total of 4 candidates. The other 2 candidates were excellent also. So if one of these 2 officers declines for whatever reason, I think they might be interviewing other places also. If either of these 2 officers decline, we have 2 more officers the council already interviewed, plus another one the council could interview. They would have to interview because you always have to pick out of 3. So anyhow, we're in good stead. If one of these officers turns down the position, we still will have 3 more candidates to choose from, 2 of which have been interviewed already.
Thank you.
And then as noted, we have a civil service commission that oversees the hiring process on the front end. We have 1 opening on the civil service commission, it's the alternate. So there's 3 members of the civil service commission, and we have an opening for the alternate position. We interviewed 2 candidates, and because the public safety committee was in transition with Mr. Dorsey and Mr. Romanovich, who were sitting on the Public Safety Committee. They resigned during the time that we were interviewing. Myself, Mr. Tintori, Mayor Shank, and Mr. Panza interviewed 2 candidates. And we would like to make a motion to appoint Patrick Lucas to fill the Green Tree Borough Civil Service Commission alternate vacancy for a term to expire March 5th, 2030. Mr. Lucas is a police officer in another community, so he has a lot of familiarity with civil service, and being an officer in the other community is not a conflict of interest. Check on that. So he is well qualified to sit on this board.
Second.
With motion and a second, any further discussion?
Just real quick, we have 3 members of the Civil Service Commission. So the alternate, he'll sit in on all the meetings. It's almost like an alternate drawer. So that, this alternate would sit in, and then if there's at this meeting that they're gonna vote on, and one of the members is on vacation or something, the alternate would be caught up to speed. He'll sit in and he'll vote. So this is to be able to move the process quicker, not dependent on schedules. And we'll have an alternate that's up to speed because he'll sit in on their meetings. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And should I do the proclamation now or
I would have to do it under public safety.
now or
Under your report.
right now?
Vote?
Right now.
Really haven't voted yet.
No, I thought you were just.
So we're waiting for that.
We have to vote still.
So
I'm so excited tonight.
I know. Stop it.
okay,
I
I
just
have
thought
a,
you would do it under your.
Exciting.
if there's if there's any further discussion? If not, then we do have a motion and a second. So all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries.
All right, that's the end of my report.
Thank you. We'll move on to the mayor's report, Mr. Shank.
Thank you. Couple of things here. Mayor's office hours on September 14th, had 8 different persons come, so it's always interesting there. I'll have the mayor's office hours again before the end of the year. It will be published. Oktoberfest was September 14th. Like to thank the Oktoberfest committee, did a great job, and like to thank Dr. Gosai of Highfield.
Open MRI.
Highfield Open MRI. He sponsors the fireworks with a lot of other sponsors also, but he probably was a bigger sponsor by doing the fireworks.
And also clarification that Highfield Open MRI was changed her name 12 years ago. It's Highfield Imaging. Right, I'm sorry.
Okay, so that's there. The borough's annual Halloween event is gonna be at 5 p.m. on October 26th at the fire station, so that's good. In regard to 2 other things here, this is the Dairy Queen. It used to be a Dairy Queen down there on Mansfield Avenue. I was gonna discuss this at our workshop meeting, but we didn't have it. We did interviews instead. But just real quick, this is what you call conservatorship. I met with an attorney, gave me a call, an owner of a piece of property. And what a conservatorship is, I've talked with our solicitor and just a general overview. If a property's in dilapidated condition, somebody can be appointed a conservator. You ask the owner to fix it up. If the owner does not fix it up, the conservator can fix it up. You have to go through the court process because ownership's important. The conservator can fix it up. And they spend money fixing it up. They spend attorney fees fixing it up. So after they fix it up, they get back their attorney fees. They get back the repairs plus, I believe, 20%. I could be off on that.
That's correct.
Then the owner can reimburse that money and they could still own the property. So they pay the attorney fees, they pay the cost to fix it up, and they pay the plus 20%, and then they're the owner. But then the owner might decide they don't want the property. So if they don't want the property, you get the property appraised, and the person that fixed it up can pay the appraisal amount for the property, and anything above the repair cost, anything above the attorney fees that the owner gets. So the owner doesn't get out of the picture. But anyhow, if they want to do a conservatorship on this Dairy Queen, but we can discuss this in a workshop. Plus, the solicitor is familiar with this process. but other municipalities are using this conservatorship. My brother used it in Brookline. A house next door to him was dilapidated. They got a conservator appointed. They fixed up that property, and then the owner didn't want it. And then they got the property appraised, and then they're going to pay the difference, and someone else is gonna own the property. But anyhow, this is a whole new process. Green Tree's not done it before, and I'm sure I probably went too fast. But it's a little bit complicated. There's a lot of legal hoops, but we might be able to use this to, fix up a property to in Green Tree. And then lastly, all right. Okay, lastly, I don't want to beat a dead horse, nothing's gonna change, I'm sure, in the swimming pool, I mean, they're already doing it. But, I feel compelled, just from my background, I just want to make 5 points, put them on record. Like I said, I don't believe anything's gonna change, but I just want to create a record here of these 5 points. The 5 points, real quick, I'm not gonna be real long. The square footage of the restricted areas. I've gone through that before. There's 2,549 feet of restricted areas by the diving board, only so many people, sliding board, so many people, swimming lane, so many people. That only gives you 4,200 feet for the general use. I think that's an important statistic. I think that should be in reports, written reports, but it took me forever to get those statistics. And I just think that more consideration should have been given to that restricted area of 2,500 feet. First point. Second point, space needed in the general use area. Space needed in the 4,200 square feet to have a preferred user space or an enjoyable experience. I've never gotten that number. In the 4,200 feet, I've asked and asked, how many people can comfortably fit in the pool in 4,200 feet at the same time? Not user load in the whole vicinity. How many can actually be in the pool in 4,200 feet and have enough space to have a good time? Never got that answer. Third point, just 5 points here. Third point, the smaller pool was a surprise. It was not properly vented, in my opinion. Why am I saying that? A lot of things, everything else on the pool, I believe, was properly vetted except the pool size. Until the meeting on June 17th, council's interest was in pools at least as large as the current one, 7,500 square feet. On June 17th, they started to look at a different design with 7,100, 400 square feet less. So they became interested, but they asked the pool designer to go back and make it bigger. Instead of making it bigger, on July 1st, he came back with 6,700. He made it smaller, and council voted on that smaller pool. So until between June 17th and July 1st, it was always looking at the same size. Then all of a sudden, it's 800 square feet less. So to me, that was a surprise. And then the citizens come up and voice concerns about the size of the pool. That was the third point. Fourth point is, if you're gonna make something smaller, it would be nice if we had an estimate to make the pool the same size, compare it to 800 square feet less, and then you can say it's gonna cost X number of dollars to have the same size pool, and that would be a good argument to support their position that between the two sides, it's not worth having the same size pool because it's gonna cost too much money. But anyhow, I would think that would be a good thing to have. And then the last and fifth point, I really don't think council should ignore the citizen input from numerous, I'd say hundreds of pool users by alleging that they are representing the silent majority or representing the interests of those afraid to speak. You can do that on anything. The silent majority, 800 people vote for you. Well, maybe the silent majority didn't want me. Or maybe people were afraid to vote. I mean, you gotta listen to the people, and between the resident pass holders and the active resident seniors, that's 1,000 people. 1,000 people between the active pass holders and the active resident seniors. We've got 1,000, that's 20%. That's not even counting the people that don't have from Green Tree that go in there. So we got 20% of the population has, senior, we have people that use the poll. So I would think that, that their opinions should be, noted. So anyhow, I'm not gonna bring up the poll anymore. I mean, we're moving on, but I just wanted to make sure that those 5 points, I've made them before, but at different meetings. I just wanted to put them all together at one meeting. Thank you.
I just had a question. You said, when you were discussing Derek, when you said they, does that mean the owner wants to do it?
No,
You said they want to do it.
they, some other restaurant owner is they, some other
Oh.
restaurant, sorry.
I didn't make an owner.
I didn't make it clear. No.
Oh, somebody else wants to come in and try to renovate that property.
And they did get court approval,
Okay.
but then they're.
Under the Conservatorship Act, there's a limited amount of individuals that can initiate a conservatorship action. Typically, it's a resident who's located, or business owner that's located within a certain, distance of the property, or a local nonprofit. The municipality itself also can be the one to commence the action, so I'm not sure who is initiating at this time, but I'm happy to work with the mayor and council. It's actually one of my areas of expertise, so.
Okay, thank you. That's a good opportunity. Hopefully, that's a good.
Could you briefly give the history of how Representative Walko invented, like, he's
He's the former judge, Walco, when he was a state representative, he had this idea, to essentially help combat the issue of abandoned and blighted properties. And, Ron, you might know a little bit more about the actual underlying, circumstances surrounding it, but it's a good opportunity for, concerned citizens and concerned, municipalities to really combat blight in their community. A lot of times what happens is, as everybody knows, when you have a property that's falling apart, usually you have to wait until they're ultimately behind on their taxes and take it to sheriff's sale, and that's a long, arduous process. The conservatorship is much quicker. It allows, like I said, certain individuals and organizations to come forward, have the courts, petition the court to become appointed conservator, and then once they're appointed conservator, they go in and they're allowed to rehabilitate the property, and typically at the end, they ultimately sell it, ideally to a new buyer who's going to prove to the court that they're going to have a higher likelihood of responsible property ownership. There's a lot of procedural safeguards with it. There's a lot of factors that you have to demonstrate to the judge. The court's heavily involved throughout the entire process, but I've been involved with this process and bringing conservatorship actions, defending against them, and representing municipalities. So kind of seen every single angle of it. I think when it's done correctly, it's definitely something that can benefit the community. It's just also something that council should be aware of, because a lot of times the conservator will try to extinguish any unpaid taxes. So there's some good with the bad that you just have to be aware of. Fortunately, there was a recent court decision that said that municipalities have a little more strength to protect their taxes. So it's kind of just trying to make it a good vehicle for facilitating change while still protecting everyone's interests.
Thank you for that information. Okay, we will move on to committee reports. I'm buried on finance, so I really don't have anything to add. We can move on.
That's some questions, on finance and general policy. Ms. Miller, in your update, you talked about the peer review, recommendations. We're gonna wait until the 2 council seats are filled. We've been waiting on an update for almost 2 years, so what's gonna be different now with 2 council members? What's the plan? What's the course of action? I mean, at this point, why don't we just forget about it? Doesn't seem like there's much interest on council. So look at those recommendations that were made in the peer reviews, and it's been over 2 years actually, and 3 years. I mean, that's at this point.
I think since it was wrapped up, it's probably about 2.5 years.
Yeah, so at this point, my recommendation would be just take it off the plate and let's just chalk it up as something that didn't get done.
I actually think that some of the decisions that were within the report, some of the recommendations are impactful to a staffing perspective. I think they're impactful on just generally how we do business. So I think I think that there's a lot of things in there and a lot of which do not need to be gone over with my tooth comb, but I do think there are a couple of points that are worth it to speak. I do think it would be, it would be in agreement with the committee, that I think it's best done much better full complement of council. It's going to be responsible for the decisions that would result.
We've had a full complement of council for the past 3 years and nothing has gotten done. So for the residents, 3 years ago, we contracted the Department of Community and Economic Development to come in the consultancy relationship with us to look at all of the operations in administration, police department, public works. They provided comprehensive reports and recommendations. And I would say we haven't even scratched the surface. Ms. Miller just said there were impactful recommendations there that we haven't done in the past 3 years. I've asked countless times where we are. I made suggestions. I volunteered us to create subcommittees, which we did. My subcommittee provided a report with recommendations to the Sparans. I'm not sure if the other one did or not.
Yes, right before he left, he provided it.
Yep, and there we are. We have to wait for 2 more council members tomorrow. I'm just not sure what's gonna change. The other thing I'd like to know is, in terms of engineering services, do we use 2 firms? Do we use Lynn Smith and Gannett Plumbing, or is that
So Gannett Plumbing is primarily the bridge.
just the bridge? Okay. I'd like to know how much, we made a decision to outsource engineering after the former borough engineer retired. We thought that was gonna be a cost savings. I still want to know if that's still a cost savings or that's something that we should maybe consider to hire a full-time borough engineer.
Certainly, at the time we did put out ads for one, we were unsuccessful in getting that.
So that was a couple of years ago, right?
Of course, so that was in like the 21.
I know it's unfair to ask you, but do you have any idea where we might be with how much we're paying?
I have an update, I have a spreadsheet for it, but I can get that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I think it's just maybe a little bit, we'll talk about it. Once I send it out, I'll give you kind of a list of projects that are managed and whatnot, so you can have those, where we were there versus where we are.
Yeah. And then the third thing that I have, last month I talked about budget transparency. I provided some best practice content to council, the mayor. I didn't get much response. One of them was a video from the local government academy that Mr. Tori is on board. They have a lot of credibility in the content. Their best practice is to create more transparency in the budgeting process, to include residents, to include department heads. Right now, as it currently stands, we're gonna get the budget on November 15th. We're gonna have one meeting, a public meeting, with the budget already completed, with little to no opportunity to provide input into that budget, except for a couple of weeks last year, we ran into a problem with the fire department, where they didn't have enough time because somebody was on vacation to respond to Ms. Miller's request for budget requests. So I asked about this several months ago. We could extend that period of the budgeting process to include, I know Ms. Miller and the finance director are on top of it. I just want there to be more transparency. And I think we heard tonight over the past couple of months, the residents want more transparency too.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. We will move to, I believe, infrastructure.
Yeah, I'm filling in right now. So the 2024 road program is about 90% complete. Final punch list items will be completed within the next few weeks. There are a couple other capital improvement projects that are in progress, which include storm culvert restoration on Glencoe, installation of the sanitary sewer on Heckler Road, and there's some upcoming projects that will include Whiskey Run Creek restorations, as well as storm sewer outfall restoration in the vicinity of Glencoe and Arledge Rock.
Does the fiber optic project, is that fall under infrastructure?
Well,
The pro-
it's not our project, but if you want to ask me whatever questions.
well, I just wanted to know what the update is. It seems like they've been unresponsive. The solicitor's been in contact, so, and it's not our project, but it's our residents being affected by their lack of response.
So, yes, so we did, move it over to legal. And, they have advised that they've turned it over to their insurance company. So.
The contract.
Correct. I can follow up with them, so it's actually coming back on my radar follow up since I haven't heard back since they referred it out.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks since they advised it would go to their
And
insurance.
are we in communication with residents that have been affected?
There's not, I have one, that has a driveway issue. Most of it was soft repair, like just front yards and whatnot. But then I have one other big one, and they've also had an attorney contact me as well.
So we have been in contact with the ones that have been
I have
affected.
only two, one business and one resident that is still having issues. So if you know of anybody else, please tell them.
So the other ones would have, if they had an issue, maybe they just not being vocal about it, or
I only have the one driveway and then the one cemetery lateral for the commercial business.
how many were originally affected? About.
Well, there were a lot that just had some soft disruptions, meaning the front yards were dug up, and I believe that those were all restored.
By the
only person
contractor?
that I have left on my list that has contacted me is, the one commercial business and the one resident.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there are others that may have taken care of the issue on their own, out of their own pocket. If there's an opportunity that,
Well, they did certainly. Hopefully it's documented.
we should probably just be in contact with them, that maybe there is an opportunity for them to recoup those funds through this legal process.
If you know of anybody, please let me know.
Have we done a full inspection, like all along the sidewalks, how they drilled into our brand new sidewalks and everything? Have we done a full, like,
Yes,
inspection?
yes.
Okay.
I have a full list of all.
So we have damages. Okay.
To the tune of about $150,000. It's all documented, we have video, pictures.
Are they still in business?
It's a big communications company out of Colorado, and then they had subcontractors here that were from all over the place, that they involved subcontractors.
It's not uncommon for it to be somewhat slow moving when it's referred out to insurance defense, especially if it's a large company like that. I mean, they have reports all throughout the country. So I'll keep on them.
All right, great, thank you.
And on this note, do we have any restrictions on like when contractors can work on our streets? Where, for example, about, I believe it was September the 5th, maybe, at 8 a.m., they closed on most of Green Tree Road to work on our curbs. And I just, if you would have seen how the traffic was not moving at all, where like a small project like that, if they would have started at, say, 6 o'clock at night, middle of summer, beautiful weather, I understand. Or if they would have started after rush hour, work from 10 a.m. till
So.
2 p.m.
I'm afraid you're right. My understanding is when I came here is that I was told that they can't work before 9 or after 2. But one thing you have to remember is that's a state road, we don't control. That's a state road. And that's how we got into this problem with the fiber optic project, because it's a state road, they permitted it, nothing about it.
Well, then I think we need to make it clear that we have better communications. So if they started at 8 o'clock, exactly, there probably is some ordinance, you cannot start till after 9 o'clock. And finishing by 2 makes total sense also. But when someone violates that and starts at 8, I mean, is it like, what do we do about it? We just.
What is our ability to?
A lot of times when you're dealing with with work on a state road, a lot of times there's disconnect between PennDOT and the local government. So what we've seen in the past is if you reach out to the most effective way that we've seen actually is if you reach out to, remember, your state representative, is explain the issue that's going on and try to get them to be able to back channel with PennDOT to be able to coordinate, better timing and more, I guess, collaboration going forward. It's unfortunately a bit of a bureaucratic approach, but it seems to be the most effective way to get in touch with them and get results.
Hopes that our representative's office is on Green Tree Borough.
Thank you for infrastructure.
All right, I got planning and zoning
Yes.
up again. Planning commission did not meet this past month. They do have a meeting scheduled for this Wednesday at 7. There is also a zoning hearing on October 10th at 7 p.m. They will be looking at the application for a digital sign at Foster Plaza by Wolf and a sign for Clearview Federal Credit Union. That's coming up, and then there will also be another planning meeting on the 23rd at 7 later in the month. So that's planning and zoning.
Thank you very much. Move on to public facilities equipment, Ms. Barron.
Yeah, I have a few things. The first is, our committee, my committee will meet, this coming month before our November meeting. But one of the things, you heard the poll a few times tonight, and the development of the construction specification does continue. If you remember from those meetings, all we voted on was that design. All of the other pieces will have to come. So once we get closer to that finalization of the specifications and before the project goes out to bid, it is not currently out to bid. Our committee will schedule an additional public meeting to discuss the amenities and all the other stuff that we'll have to consider before it goes out to bid, and any considerations when we put it out to bid. The Rook Park, we've been getting a lot of great compliments from our neighbors in the Rook area. The children are enjoying the park. It's been very nice fall, so lots of after-school play. The sidewalk restoration of that area is pending the finalization. Point Park Field, in the agreement with Point Park University, the meeting with Point Park representatives was held in August 23rd. Ms. Miller was there. And the existing MOU draft was forwarded to these representatives for review. And additional meetings will be scheduled with them upon request. Is there anything else to that update, Ms. Miller, that we need to be aware of this time? Okay. I had mentioned last time about the municipal garden improvements. So the garden club representatives are considering alternating light fixtures. We discussed that. I brought that to this meeting last month. That the light fixtures that were chosen, like in the original budget, the garden club wants something more beautiful because they have an amazing garden. But in the meantime, as they're considering that alternate lighting fixtures, they're going to move forward with some electrical upgrades to the garden to support their system and the need for electrical capacity for certain events held within the garden. The Green Tree Garden Club is paying for these electrical upgrades to the amount of $1,850. That is through all of their fundraising that they do throughout the year to beautify our garden. So they are paying for that part. The municipal restroom renovations, that was up to bid tonight, and that will be awarded. And we are certain that when that construction does become something that is happening, we will have notifications. It will be out on our website. Signs will be posted. There'll be directional signs of where the alternative restrooms are. And then obviously when it is done, we will celebrate. I also wanted to say that the Green Tree Library's book sale is happening pretty soon. It starts on October 17th through the 20th. They are with the pre-sale happening on October 17th. The pre-sale is the night that you pay a small donation to enter the room and get the first dibs on all of the good and best books. If you are an avid reader and you love to shop book sales, truly that is the night to shop. They are still looking for volunteers for everything from setup to unloading the storage unit to, you know, fixing the books and helping with the sale day. So if you're looking for volunteering efforts, if you have a family member who needs credits towards their high school graduation or even their confirmation or anything else they might be doing, you can reach out to the library directly. There are some spots that are full, but they have many more opportunities to volunteer and set up. And then just recently, a point that I wanted to raise to everyone here tonight. So recently you might have seen in the news this week that a neighboring committee, or a neighboring, I'm sorry, not committee, a neighboring community was given they had no option but to close 3 of their playgrounds. They are completely closed and roped off due to safety concerns and insurance liability. Essentially, their insurance will not carry their parks anymore because they're too unsafe. And though we hope our neighbors can resolve this issue quickly and are welcome to use our parks, of course, as this situation continues, I wanted to take a moment to assure our community that here at Green Tree, we do take our play structures incredibly serious with safety. All of our playgrounds are inspected yearly. I believe that the 2024 inspection is coming up at the end of this month. Isn't that correct, Ms. Miller? Yeah, at the end of October. And this inspection is done yearly. And it also is what is the impotence to let us know what of our parks need TLC the following year. You will have heard me in my time on this committee ask for grant money to go to a certain park that would apply for the following year. Those inspections that we do regularly help us understand what play structures in our parks are gonna need TLC. And so that we can build that continually into our 5-year capital plans. So to date, none of our parks have been in danger of closing. If you ever spot something in our play structures or in our parks amiss and you're concerned about that playground equipment, the most immediate thing you can do is to reach out to the borough office. They can respond. Just even myself, I was at a park earlier this summer, noticed a swing was all wrapped up and, you know, torn around. Obviously someone had been playing and, you know, trying to like put it over the thing, and they had it fixed the next day. But our parks are safe. We hope that our neighborhood community can also have safe parks. And please rest assured that we do have a process to make sure our parks are continually safe for our children. And that's the end of my report.
Don't we have somebody in Public Works that's certified on playgrounds? Oh, we did.
No, I think they might have years ago, but we got the service for free for our insurance.
Couple of questions with public safety or public property. The Carlisle Social Hall vestibule, is that still on the list?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a pretty expensive project. That was enough we put in for ADA ramps again, ADA for sidewalks and stuff to try to cover some of the money, and we were not able to. We can we can apply again, and then it will be up to council that, you know, kind of like the restrooms, even if we don't get the money, do we still want to proceed with it? Or maybe we could just put some new doors on it for now. I mean, I think that adding the vestibule is kind of nice because in the winter, I mean, you let all that cold air in there. There's really nowhere to hang coats except within the room. So
what's our compliance right now? You said in order to get it to the ADA.
So the ADA entrance is around the back.
Yeah, it's not. You have to go to the side.
Around the side, so we were going to, we're going to make the front entrance ADA assessment, so they can actually come in and come into the front door.
We talked about, I think Kim was doing some research on upgrading the video system here.
Yes,
We have a set.
for that for next year.
Okay.
It's been, well, I can tell you that I had talked to them not only about this system here to do something a little more contemporary, a little more state of the art. And then I also asked about our conference room because I think it would be nice to have that video conferencing ability in there. So that's really expensive, so.
We haven't, our committee has not discussed it.
Yeah.
Nothing's been brought to consideration.
Is it in the budget for next year?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely planning on it. I think we can talk about what would be the challenges.
What are their challenges?
It needs to be spec'd out. And I we need that part of it. So just go with one.
And then, I've had a couple of complaints about Green Tree Cemetery, well aware of it, talking to the contractor, where, did we get pricing yet?
He's supposed to come out this week. I don't have a date.
I thought he already came out.
But he's coming out the week 7th.
Okay. I thought he came out in July or June, and then he was gonna get.
He did, he came out and he was supposed to give me pricing, and then when I asked where the pricing was, he says, I want to come back out and take a look at the more things, I'll get you better pricing, so.
Okay.
That's supposed to.
So the issue, just for the community, the issue with Green Tree Cemetery is on Green Tree Road, between Crestmont and Bonville. Green Tree took ownership of that cemetery about 7 years ago.
It was more than that.
It's been a long.
It's been like 15 years.
No.
It was,
It's been a
well,
long
maybe
time.
10, because
I was on council, so probably about 8 to 10 years ago.
yeah, probably.
Anyways, it's, there's some headstones that have toppled over or are on the verge of toppling over. And, since we took ownership of it, I think it's within our obligation to repair it and make it look respectful.
Just real quickly, we did not voluntarily take it over. When a congregation owns a cemetery and they get too small and they can't support it, it kind of goes to the municipality. So maybe we kind of have to take it over. We inherited it.
They gave us a lump sum payment of.
We got around 96,000, I think, something like that. And that's for us to use, do everything we need to do with it.
But we're not in the process of owning cemeteries, unless we have to, just so you're aware of that.
Yeah, you can't like,
Oh, we all get to be buried for free.
Only the mayor.
Truly not true. So, all that sermon, there's a lot of the headstones are no longer legible. They are completely.
it's a very expensive.
It is very toxic, and I'm trying to keep them whether they're legible or not, just stabilize them.
Just stabilize them, and once they're completely fallen over.
Anything else, Ms. Barron?
No, that's it.
Okay, we'll move on to public safety, Mr. Ray.
All right, public safety, we have a proclamation tonight. Our lifeguards, put in a lot of work over the summer at the pool. They're in an important role, ensure the safety of the patrons at the pool. On numerous occasions this summer, I saw, lifeguards have to jump in and, save swimmers who are struggling. One time last year, there was a need for CPR. So they're well trained. They're well trained this summer. They're great leadership, and I'd like to recognize the lifeguards that made those saves. So the proclamation reads as, whereas our Green Tree Wilson Pool lifeguard staff go above and beyond to ensure the safety of all swimmers. And whereas Madeline, Ryan Chipich, Nina Demise, Teresia Giacomo, Sarah Duffy, Danny Sokowski, and Allison Voss were responsible for rendering life-saving skills at the Green Tree Borough Wilson Pool during the 2024 season. Now there be resolved that the Green Tree Borough Council and Mayor recognizes the exceptional skills and quick thinking of the lifeguards demonstrated throughout the 2024 summer season, and are proud to honor their efforts in keeping our pool patrons safe. Resolved and adopted this 7th day of October 2024. Unfortunately, none of them were able to join us tonight because they're either at school or at sports, but it's important that we recognize their efforts and, going above and beyond to save us. A couple of other updates. I know there's comments online about pets on the Green Tree walking track. Just want to remind the community that we have a dog park in Green Tree Park, and that should be utilized for pets. Pets are not allowed on the track. And you have to get key fob borough office in order to gain entry into the park. The police department got a couple of comments, feedback from residents that line of sight turning onto Green Tree Road and a couple of intersections. It's difficult because of trees or shrubs or bushes that have impeded that line of sight. So the police department is addressing those issues. And then also this time of year, leaves in the streets, we have great service with public works comes by and picks up the leaves in the street, but it's important to remember that you should rake your leaves to the curb while the leaves are still in your yard and not onto the street. Raking leaves onto the street is a major safety concern. Kids play in the leaves and truck could come by and that could be hurt, not the truck, the vehicles could come by while the kids are in the leaves, and that's not good. And then also just it's a vehicular hazard when those leaves get wet. So just remember to rake those leaves into the yard. And then related to the pool, and we had a couple of residents come up to the podium tonight asking for more transparency. We had the mayor talk about the need for additional input. We do have a lot of residents have concern. I wonder what that meeting is going to be like the next public meeting where we're asking for amenities. We have a large number of the community that is in disagreement with the current design. So I think it's important that we continue to gather data. And so I'd like to make a motion to add to the agenda that the borough conducts a community-wide survey asking for input on the current design as well as the additional amenities that are going into the pool. Really difficult to understand it's really difficult to understand what the community wants if we don't listen. And I thought for sure tonight that I would get a second on that motion and that we would gather that community feedback. It's really saddening, honestly. We have so many residents. I'd like to know, I've asked the question, what is that number? Is it 2,000? Is it half the voting age residents in this community that say, we put a pause on the pool design? What is that number? And why not do a survey? I mean, if you get the survey results back and it says the pool design you picked is great, then great. But if you get an overwhelming majority that says the pool design you picked isn't great, then what do you want that information? That pool is going to be there for the next 60 years. And we didn't collect that data. That's the most important data point that we missed, and it's really saddening that I didn't get a second on that motion. We're also going to have last point of my report here. We're going to have an executive session after this meeting to talk about personnel issue. That's the end of my report.
Thank you very much. Move on to recreation programming. Community welcome. Mr. Pam.
Thank you, Mr. President. As the mayor pointed out, October 26th is Halloween Happenings. That is sponsored by the rec committee. Another event sponsored by the rec committee. One of the biggest events of the year is Light Up Night. But Light Up Night has now moved to November 23rd, which is normally the first week in December. But now this coincides more with traditional Light Up Nights, and it will be Saturday, November 23rd. So look forward for everyone to come up and attend. I know there's a wreath making class, which is very Christmas oriented. I do not have the exact date of that.
21st.
Excuse me?
November 21st.
November 21st.
It's here.
Oh, it's here, not at the fire hall anymore. Okay,
And you
now
have
it's
to
here.
sign up for it.
And you have to sign up for it. It's a very enjoyable event. It's a nice holiday event. I urge everyone to attend. In years past, the mayor or president or the recreation committee would pick the best wreaths of the night and they win an award. We haven't done that for quite a long time, but that's a while ago. So then only two more items for clarification under community affairs. I'll have to ask our solicitor. The replacement of Mr. Romanovich. Now that we accepted his resignation, would you verify we have 45 days starting today? Is that correct? To finish the process?
I believe it's 60 days to fill the vacancy.
It is, not in our charter, it wasn't 45.
Charter right here,
I thought, I could be wrong.
I believe it's 60, at a regular schedule, at a regular scheduled meeting held 60 days after publication of said notice. Council shall fill the vacancy.
Okay, so 60 days.
And it's actually, it goes off of when, the publication goes.
Oh, okay, not when we accepted the resignation. Okay, that's clarification. And then could you provide clarification on, we appointed a new member of council, what the process will be, like when the swearing in would be and how will that work?
That's really up for council to decide. So before the new member can begin serving in her role, she would have to take the oath of office. That can be done in private before the next meeting or at the next regularly scheduled meeting. Again, that's really just a decision for council.
And I thought, well, I brought that up only because I thought it might be appropriate while we're here that maybe we should make a determination on that. Any thoughts? Any?
Swearing on you is tough.
Are we gonna do it at the next regular meeting on November the 4th?
Or if she would like to assume her roles in advance of that, she could do it. At any time. She doesn't need to do it at a public meeting.
Oh, that I did not know. I thought,
Yep, you can do it privately.
She
You
can
can also,
arrange half the time.
there can also be a ceremonial swearing in, even if she doesn't like to be sworn in private prior to the next regularly scheduled meeting.
okay, well,
And we would also, just on the topic, we will need to, select the next interview date. I know there's some travel coming up amongst board members, so the publication has to go out within 10 days of tonight. So whether everybody just.
Jake, does the advertising for the vacancy, the application date, does that publication also need to identify the interview date?
Yes,
It does.
it does.
So we need to have
So
a regular date and an alternate.
So what I would do, if council's okay with it, I could send out a poll tomorrow, so that everybody would respond, and I'll pick the first available date that council available.
So then can you have a second alternate date
Yes.
as well
Yes.
based on the response, please?
Last 2 dates.
Thank you.
Oh, I have something for Mr. Hansa. When are we trick or treating
oh, yes. Always a subject that.
for you?
Yes, I'm so surprised that when I bring up coordinating our trick or treating with the city of Pittsburgh, where, 30% of us touch the city of Pittsburgh. And no one, it seems to upset everyone. I thought it would be a good thing to try to coordinate. The city of Pittsburgh starts at 5:30 and we
No,
start.
we start at 5.
When?
Last year they started at 5.
Oh, it's
That's why-
getting even
that's
worse
why.
and worse, okay?
It's
So-
5.
Now, fortunately, this isn't the 1970s or 80s, because if at 5:45, you went to a house that wasn't giving out candy, you got a rotten egg in your window or something. Well, kids don't do that today, but, I mean, so many city of Pittsburgh kids, they stop. Okay, they stop, no one's ready, because we're starting at 6, and then like our kids go and the city's already done. I mean, it would just be nice to have the same time, but
Great, but that would also need to be discussed before October.
absolutely. So that's why I think I will reach out to the city and tell them, hey, we have it at 6, come on, catch up and move it to 6.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So officially trick or treating is 6 to 8 on Halloween.
6 to 8 on Halloween, which is October 31st.
And I'll try to get the city to comply with us for next year.
See the mayor every day.
Anything else?
Nothing else.
No, I'm talking about
No, I have not.
Mr. Pan. Okay. Okay, move on to president's report, just a couple things. Make sure if you want the latest information about anything going on at the borough, you download the Green Tree Connect app. That's the best way to get all your info, your notifications. Say it all the time. Hopefully a lot of people have already gotten it, but it would be the best way to start communicating, picking up all the communications from the borough. And a couple things on Halloween. There's a Halloween decoration contest. It's between now and October 21st. They're giving that happy fall y'all, seriously scary, too cute to spook, and creepy lady. So there'll be a gift certificate, $50 we're giving out to the best house. So don't forget to light up your house. And I guess you can email your pictures to Kim. And so if you know anybody out there who hasn't put their decorations up, a lot of people really have already. So tell them to try to take advantage of making a couple bucks off of it and beautifying the neighborhood. So I think that's about it. And we move on to the manager's report.
I just have one to announce 2 things. There are actually 2 drug take backs this month. One is sponsored by Representative DZ. It'll be at the fire hall on October the 10th from 4 to 6. That's actually also a mini senior expo. So they're going to be doing a whole things for seniors, including flu shots, COVID vaccines, I think as well. So, you know, some seniors that need any of those services, that's a good opportunity. And then there's also a DEA National Drug Take Back, and that's on October 26th here at the Borough Building in the upper parking lot from 10 to 2.
What was the easy date again?
That is on October the 10th, and that's a mini senior expo.
Okay,
I did have one additional thing. It does not fall under my,
I just got one thing I want to ask, sorry. We do have a drug collection
Then right outside
and that
all the time.
is always there, so if you can't make the DZ and event, then we have it outside all the time. Just want to make sure people were aware of this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, this does not fall under any of my committees. So I did want to point out to our community that Pittsburgh Regional Transit released their draft, their first draft for the upcoming transit changes. There are major changes happening all across our region that are scheduled to happen. It does impact the buses in our area. And I would recommend that you go to the website, take a look at the draft for their first draft. That is open for public comment. You can comment right in the document. You can see all of the changes that they are making, which for our routes, it's mostly timed that it's changing. But they are condensing lines, adding new lines and eliminating lines. So I would highly recommend that everyone in our community check it out. Certainly if you're someone who commutes by public transportation, or if you have someone who goes to any of our colleges by public transportation or high schools or whatever. But it's going to be a major change for our entire county. So I would encourage everyone to look at it.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to make the motion that we adjourn this meeting.
So moved, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we are adjourning to an executive session.
30 seconds.
All right.